Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, August 19th, 2024. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask you a philosophical question, give you two possible options for how we might respond, and then I want to hear from you in the comments about what you think is the best way forward. See you in a minute. All right, so here's the question I want to ask you today. Why do we care about each other? Now, this question was motivated as a kind of object of philosophical reflection because I just got back from Snowshoe Mountain Bike Park up in Snowshoe, West Virginia. I was there with my good friend, my sister's partner, Nathan, and we had an absolutely amazing time riding world-class, just magical, unbelievably cool mountain bike trails. Unfortunately, while I was there, I had a pretty gnarly crash. I ended up having to go to the emergency room, messed up my hand, bruised some ribs, bruised my shoulder. Thankfully, nothing was broken, so I'll recover fairly quickly. But in that experience, a bunch of things started occurring to me. First, while we were there at the mountain bike park, we often would ride the ski lift back up to the top of the mountain, and we would ride with other people we didn't even know. We met a guy from Ukraine. We met a kid who, in fact, was just getting ready to start his senior year in high school and was there for the first time doing downhill mountain biking. It was absolutely the coolest thing because we didn't know anything about these people except that they also loved mountain biking. And then when I hurt myself, there was this amazing sense as we tried our best to get down the mountain, my friend Nathan, of course, carrying the bikes and me trying not to fall as I was holding my hand and limping down the mountain. When we got to the ski lift, the people working the ski lift immediately recognized what we were going through. They reached out. Do you need us to call the patrol? Are you okay? Notice they also recognized something about us. And that something wasn't just that we were mountain bikers. It wasn't an affinity connection. It was the expression of human pain. They saw me carrying my weak shoulder, holding my hand, wincing, I'm sure, in what was pretty intense pain at the moment. And they identified something that was deeply shared about our humanity. Well, those two possibilities are the things that I want to propose to you as not necessarily a radical dichotomy, but two options for how we make sense of why we care about each other. The first is this affinity idea, that we simply do things and we share lived practices with other beings like us, and so we have a sense of connection with them. This is the view offered by the philosopher Richard Rorty. He rejects any sense of a kind of universal concept of, the human or something like moral integrity that unites us with other beings. He thinks that no, we have intuitions about wanting to care for beings who do stuff that we do. It's this kind of really mundane sense that I don't care about my neighbor because they are, another person. I care about my neighbor because they live next door. He, in fact, talks about this in relation specifically to Germans helping Jewish individuals in World War II. And he says it wasn't because they were committed to some big idea of humanity. It was because they, had kids that played soccer together, or they shopped at the local grocery store. And so they recognized in each other the kind of mundane realities by which real connections are born. So in this sense, Rorty would be on the side of those who say, look, our connections with each other is because we like mountain biking. We hang out. We do the same kind of stuff. That's ultimately deeper than some universal or abstract concept that anchors our moral relationships. Alternatively, we could lean more into the view articulated by Norman Geras, who in fact does a study of the testimonies of people who helped each other during World War II and different kinds of human tragedies. And he says, look, it's not because of affinities and lived practice that unites us together. It's because of a real sense that there is something bigger than our individual existence, something like humanity or moral goodness that unites us together. And that's why, even if I don't know you and I don't know what you do and I don't know what you care about, I see you as another person, another being who can be in need, a being about whom I can care. And that's in some ways what we saw the guys working the ski lift do, right? They saw us as people in need, regardless of the specific connections of our affinities. Again, I don't think that these are stark dichotomies. I think probably they both go together in really interesting ways. It was the case that the ski lift operators saw our pain, but they also recognized that we were mountain bikers, right? That's why we were there riding. That's how we got hurt. It's also the case that when we're riding the ski lift with those other mountain bikers, we recognize them as humans and not robots. So part of how we parse this distinction between, on the one hand, we care about each other because of the lived practices of local engagements, versus we care about each other because of a concept that unites us as the kinds of beings we are. Maybe it's the case that these are two sides of the same coin, that we are only ever human insofar as we continue to do things with our bodies in a world where relationships are constituted. So I want to know from you. I want to hear from you. Drop comments in. Tell me, which of these do you side with? Do you, more like me, think that they're maybe connected? Do you think that no, ultimately Geras wins or Rorty is right? I'd love to hear from you. Let's think together. And whatever the reason we care about each other, ultimately what matters is that we do. Thank you so much for thinking with me, for walking the trails of life together. I'll see you next time, unless a piano falls on our heads.